And now we go to Mother Teresa, and I tell you about my experience, how I met her. In 1975, in the summertime, I went to Holland and to see my family. And after a wonderful time with my family, I went to France and to stay for a whole month with a gentleman I'm sure some of you have heard of, and his name is Jean Vanier. Jean Vanier is the founder of the large community. He founded that in 1963 or 64, and it is a community for handicapped people. Those people, mentally handicapped people. And I was very much impressed about what the work he was doing, and so I spent a whole month with him. And after that, I went to Assisi to make a 10-day retreat, and then I continued to Rome, where I stayed with my community. We have an international college down there, and I stayed there. And one of the first days, I was told there was going to be a beautiful mass at St. Peter's with Cardinal Sunens being the main celebrant, and it was the closing of a week-long conference of European bishops and European theologians. And so this was a closing, and I attended that very, very beautiful Mass. And after Mass, I just was going to go home. So I went to the bus station, on the right side, and on my way there, I remembered that I had seen some very nice souvenirs of the Holy Year, because 1975 was a Holy Year. I had seen a little shop down there with souvenirs and about the Holy Year. So I thought by myself, I might as well go there. So I changed my direction and went the other side, and I went to the famous Via della Conciliazione. That is that big street that comes out on the St. Peter's Plaza. And so I'm walking there, and all of a sudden I see, on the other side of the road, I see Mother Teresa standing with another sister. And of course, I had never met Mother Teresa, but I knew her from the pictures. And I thought to myself, I looked and looked, and I said, that's Mother Teresa. And my first impulse was to go and see her, you know. And then later on, you know, you can tell people I shook hands with Mother Teresa, so big deal, you know. But I thought by myself, Michael, don't do it. Everybody is staring at the woman. Leave her alone. She needs her privacy. So I thought, yeah, that's the best way to do it. So I walked on, but my heart was pounding. And a little bit later, I looked around, and there she was still standing with that one sister. If there had been other people around, most likely I would have said, no, I'm not going to do it. But since she was standing all by herself, I thought, listen, she's a saint, and I'm a sinner. It might be a good idea that the sinner goes to the saint and asks for a prayer. And that really motivated me. So I turned around and I stood before Mother Teresa and I said, Mother Teresa, my name is Father Michael. I didn't give my full name. My name is Father Michael, and I am in retreat work. I do retreat work, and I live in the United States, and I'm asking you, please, would you pray for me? And she said, Father, I will be happy to do that, but I want you to pray for me too, because I need it also. So, and then I told her that I had just visited Jean Vanier, knowing that Vanier was a very good friend of hers. And I said, they advised me in France to visit the Missionaries of Charity in Rome, but nobody could give me an address. And I had left, I thought to myself, so let it go. I said, but she said to me, Father, why don't you come to us and give us a conference on prayer? All of a sudden, she said, invited me to come there and to give them a conference in prayer. Well, I had not expected that whatsoever. And she got out a little piece of paper from a notebook. I framed it here. And she put on it 73 Vicolo Tor Fiscale, Roma 00178. And that is a precious document for me. That is my admission ticket so into her life, so to speak. And anyway, but she said, come to us. And so we made the arrangement that 2 days later I was going to be there and give a conference on prayer to the sisters. So I had to take 4 different buses because they lived somewhere out in the boondocks, you know. And I rang the doorbell, and one sister opened, and I said to her, I have a conference with Mother Teresa. And she said, Mother is not here yet. I said, well, and then I go to the chapel and we'll pray until she comes. So I'm sitting in the chapel for quite a while, I must say. It was a very grace-filled moment, full of anticipation to meet Mother Teresa. I had my eyes closed, and all of a sudden I hear in a loud voice, mea culpa, padre. Mea culpa, the Latin for I'm sorry, Father. You know. And I looked up, and there she was standing, bending in the Indian way, you know, towards me. And she said, Father, I'm sorry, I'm so delayed. But, and she said, by the way, you're going to give a conference on prayer. Make it short, she said to me. Because today we celebrate the 25th anniversary of our foundation. And Cardinal Poletti, the vicar of the Holy Father in Rome, is going to celebrate a Mass of Thanksgiving in the Lateran Basilica. In fact, I'm inviting you to join me. You can come with me in the car, she says to me. My Lord, all this is happening to me. I just could not believe it. It was just like I was dreaming, you know. So she got all the sisters together. This was at that time not any longer. At that time that was the International Novitiate of the Missionaries of Charity. Because most of the sisters, novices there, about 50 of them, came from all different countries, from Canada, from the United States, you know, from South America, from Africa, and from Europe, quite a number of them, to prepare themselves for their vows. So all the sisters were coming down there, and Mother Teresa, of course, herself was there too. And I said to them, I just extended to them a few thoughts about prayer. And I ended with the chanting of the Jesus prayer. Some of you might be acquainted with the Jesus prayer, but I could give a whole retreat just about the Jesus prayer. But I always like to chant it, so I chanted, and then the sisters would repeat then, Jesus, Son of God, mercy. Jesus, Son of God, mercy. And so we did some chantings. And after that, Mother Teresa comes to me and she says to me, Father, how long do you stay in Rome? I said, well, I have promised Jean Vanier that I was going to stay until the end of October. This was, by the way, the 20th of October. And because there will be a pilgrimage of the handicapped people in Rome, and I like to be there, part of it. And after that, I go back to Holland to my family. And in December, I go, you know, back to the United States. And she said, oh. I said, Mother Teresa, is there a reason why you asked me that question, how long I will stay in Rome? Well, she says, to tell you the truth, she says, from November the 7th until the 16th, we are going to have a retreat, which I'm going to make myself also. But the retreat is in preparation for some sisters who are going to make their final commitment. And something came up with the retreat master, that he could not make it or so, and I'm looking for another retreat master. Is there a possibility that you could give that retreat to the sisters? I said, Mother Teresa, I don't have any other commitments. I said, I would be most happy to do that. Of course, I had nothing with me, you know, as far as I'm a kind of a perfectionist, where retreat work and my work in general is concerned. I'm always very organized, you know, that I come prepared, that kind of a thing, you know. Of course, I had nothing. But I really feel somehow that this particular retreat was given to me. An interesting thing happened. I asked at the college where I was staying, I asked for a typewriter. I like to type my conferences and so on, you know. And but when I started doing this, trying to get something together, somehow it did not work. And it is as if I heard somebody saying to me, write by hand. This is a little bit more complicated. I find it easy to type, you know, write by hand. So I discarded the typewriter and I wrote all those conferences, some 20 of them, 21 I think, you know, by hand. I had asked Mother Teresa, I said, what kind of a retreat do you want me to give them? The topic or whatever, or something I have to emphasize. All that she said to me, give them Jesus.